Good morning, students. So we are at the point where most of us have imported our claims. We've imported our evidence because we were able to do so quickly and easily because we had that wonderful chart that Miss Smith did with you. And so we're at the point now where we have to give credit for the person who wrote what we imported. And you also have that in your research notebook. So I am using Ivana's work here. She's got her items in her essay, and now we need to go back and forth. One thing I am noticing is that students often are not making corrections. Notice how these little things are popping up. Make sure that your settings are operating where they're giving you spelling and grammar suggestions, and those are right here in the format tab. That's going to easily eliminate a lot of mistakes that can be avoided pretty simply because the system's going to show you things. All right, so we're at that point. Some of you have already moved forward on importing the sources, and some of you have not. So here is what we are doing, right? You know that if you've got your claim, your strong fact, and your strong fact, and we see that Ivana has brought that in. She said one reason the U.S. should help Afghan women is women cannot travel or cannot travel without a man accompanying them, right? So that was her first. That was her first major claim as to why it is that we need to help women in Afghanistan as the United States. Then she brought in this information right here that indicated what her support was. And we see that showing up right here. All she did is copy and paste. And if you've done your research journal, you're going to also copy and paste in this first example. Yours might, if you've opened yours up, yours might look like this. Now, we've got the transition word, and then we've got the quote. We need to include source information. And here is, and I've linked this. Whoops, that's not the right one. That's not the right one either. There it is. I have linked this in Schoology for you. You can find this. It says, let me show you what it says. Let me get in there, show you what it says. It's at the very, very bottom inside of the argument essay folder. And it says source information in text example. So you have this to look at whenever you need it as an example. We have done this already. We did this with the cell phone ban, and we did this with the Halloween and the cash articles. That was not a mistake. We have practiced identifying the author, identifying where the article or the blog or whatever it is came from, and embedding it with a strong reporting verb. So have faith in yourselves. You guys already know how to do this, right? So here's what it should look like. So here's what it looks like in text. So one reason that organized competitive sports is not good for young children is that it takes up too much time. This was a model essay I did years ago. You start with your transition. For example, you already have the transitions because I have embedded them into the assignment. Then you name the author, whoever it is that wrote whatever the article is, you name the author. You use a credential or a title. I have included down here 4 to choose from: writer, author, reporter, or contributor, depending on if there's an identifying title already available on the article, go with that one. But if not, choose one of these: writer, author, reporter, or contributor. So here, Megan Lopez is a writer for Denver News. So the next thing you need is the source information, and that is, what is the source outlet? Is it a magazine? Now, I know that you got these all online, right? So you're not actually looking in a physical magazine, but is it Time Magazine? Is it U.S. News World Report? Is it News ELA? You have to find out what the source is, and you've done that with Miss Smith already. You have this information, and I'm going to show you where it is. And then you choose a reporting verb. Now, I've limited it. I've put it down to argues, claims, asserts, reports, comments, or explains. You can choose a different one. Try to avoid these weak reporting verbs: says, said, told, tells, talked about, thinks, feels, and believes. Okay, those ones are pretty wishy-washy. They don't sound strong, and I want you to have a really strong argument. Okay, so the way that Ivana would go about this, I'm going to use hers as an example of how I can import this information, right? So I need to find the example: an Afghan woman in I don't know how to pronounce that, needed medication, but didn't have a male guardian to leave the house, right? So I'm going to find that. It's right here. And the source is right there. So I have two ways to go about this. Miss Smith had you guys already break down the sources, and I'm going up to slide number 3, where she had you guys look for the author, the date, what the publisher was. So you could look there, or you could very simply on your slide 9, because I believe she's got you with the quote with the links. You can very simply click this, go to the actual website, and take a look. So here we have kotk.org. The Taliban's return is catastrophic for women in Afghanistan. That's the article title. It is written by Jason Kotke in 2021. So I'm going to just look down real quick here. So I'm gonna take and go ahead and I'm going to copy Jason's name, Mr. Kotke's name, and I'm going to bring it over, for example, comma, as Jason Kotke. Oh, actually, who showed me that nifty trick? And there's a nifty trick that it can be imported. Shift Control V, and it imports in the same way as Jason Kotke of kotk.org. Okay. Now, he's not a writer for something else. This looks like this is his blog. This is his newsletter. He's the writer and it's his website. So I don't need to say he's a writer, contributor, because it's his website, right? So I would just say Jason Kotke, author or owner of, or I would just say of kotk.org, because it's really clear his last name is the same name as the website. So I don't really need to say writer, contributor, author, because it's his website. So as Jason Kotke of kotk.org explains, I'm going to use explains, and then I'm going to use a quote, and I'm going to end the quote. Very simple. That's it. Now, these red things are going to drive me nuts, so I'm just going to fix them. Here we go. Taliban. There you go. You're welcome, Ivana, if you're seeing this. There you go. Okay. So now we have a beautiful, we've got the quote, we've got the transition word, we've got the giving the person credit. Now this is the title of a website, and so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna give it an italics right there. Okay. Now we're gonna go right down to that next one. And we're gonna do the same process. So being accompanied by Mary, I gotta fix these. They're making me nuts. There we go. There we go. And if your computer is not set to already show those to you, please make sure you go to tools, and do spelling and grammar, and make sure that these two are clicked. It's going to show you with a little red underline, and that's going to help you avoid common mistakes, simple mistakes. And that's going to polish up your essays. All right, so we're going to go back to Ivana's research notebook, and we're going to look. Being accompanied by Miriam is required. Okay, so I'm going to go to the source. Again, do the same process. I'm going to take a look. All right, so this was January. This is just recent, so this is really hot off the press here. I'm going to take a look. All righty, where is the author? So this is Human Rights Watch, hrw.org. I'm going to see, is this written by a particular person? I'm not seeing that. I'm going to go to the bottom, and I'll address if this is not written by a particular person. If you can't identify the author, all right, accept the cookies. Gosh, goodness gracious, I accept. Wow, this is a long article. Okay. Alrighty, so I am not seeing an author, and and I'm doing this quickly, maybe Ivana has the author already, but if she does not, then we're very simply going to identify where it came from. We're going to identify that it's from humanrights.org, and we're going to identify the title of the article. Okay, so for example, additionally, in a January 2021 article, on HR, human rights, what is it? hrw.org, hrw.org, we learn. Okay, so you have to kind of figure out how it works for the particular source you're doing. If you don't have an author, you can quote when it was written, what it was written on, and then give it some sort of a reporting verb. Um, so additionally, in a January 2021 article on hrw.org, we learn, quote, being accompanied by a Markham is required for trips longer than 3 days, and the Taliban is starting to pressure taxi drivers about letting women travel alone. All right, and we've identified the source, we've identified where we got it from, and so that covers our basis, and we make sure that we are not using people's quotes without giving them credit. Okay, and you could even title the article. You could say, in addition, instead of a, you could say the January 2021 article, and we can name the article Afghanistan. You can copy this, control copy, and we can bring it right here. We go shift control V, and it brings it in. Now we got to make sure if we're titling the article, it's in quotation marks, because that is the proper way to punctuate the title of a short article. The titles of magazines or websites need to be in italics, which is what we have right here. Okay, but if it's an article title, then you want to make sure it's in quotation marks. We will tidy up and clean up all those things. If you can do those when you're importing them, that's the best. But if you are not able to do those in the moment, or don't do those in the moment, we will tidy those things up. But it is best to tidy those up right from the beginning. All right, so there's an example of how you are importing the source information. The last thing you need to do is then just explain, how does this quote support your main point? And I do believe, if I am not mistaken, Miss Smith had you guys do the reasoning right here. So this reasoning in your notes, you can actually copy and paste the reasoning if it makes sense. Just double check it, obviously, if you copy and paste it in. But let's see if we can't find the reasoning for this one. Am I seeing this here? Women's rights technology. I'm not seeing this one specifically. In Afghanistan, need medication. But here we go. Sharika had to shave her daughter's head in order not to get in trouble, and she still got beat for simply being outside. So then that's the explanation. I can copy that, and I can paste this right here. Actually, this wouldn't work. This shows that does not work. So I would take that out. I would then, I would add this explanation, and I would then show something like this shows how severe, this shows how severe the Taliban is with women, and the reason the U.S. should intervene. Okay, very simply. Really, you're just bringing the reader back to the idea that you're suggesting that the U.S. should get in there. We're saying, look at how horrible a situation is for them. And so this is evidence that we really need to step in, because this is a human rights issue, and we are all about human rights and supporting human rights and making sure that people have the equity they deserve and the fair treatment that they deserve. And we have the resources to make that happen. So, Ivana, if you're watching this, you're welcome. I'm glad that this will help you. You can move along and do the same process for the other body paragraphs. If you have questions, I will be back and we will be working on this again on Tuesday. But I am hoping that I see these filling up and getting completed. And so once we put this essay to rest, we will work on some more fun writing for the remainder of the year. Happy writing, guys.